And this is Horror Hour with the Hannahs.
Where we talk about all your favorite scary movies.
Except this one probably won't be your favorite.
Oh, wow. Damn, that's how you started off.
Sorry,
Okay.
I just didn't like it. But anyway, in the wise words of Bodies, 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 today's podcast is an episode about hanging out with your smartest and funniest friend.
Hello.
Hi, Anna.
Hi.
So now we have two Hannahs and a Nana.
Yep.
I didn't even consider
All the
that.
way
Yeah.
from Colorado. So,
Hoot hoot.
in
Yes.
person. In
Yeah,
the flesh.
recording in person. So even more fun.
And we watched Stopmotion, 2 days ago?
Yes.
Yeah, so now we're talking about it. And tell us about Stopmotion, Hannah.
It was directed by Robert Morgan and then written by Robert Morgan and Robin King. It had its film festival release in 2023 and its wide release this year. And it's starring Aisling Franciosi.
Good work,
That
good
sounds
work.
right.
Yeah.
think.
We looked it up. There's not a ton of background that I could find on this. I tried to read a bunch of Robert Morgan's interviews, and frankly, he was not helpful to me. But something I did find fun, you might maybe recognize his name, even though this is his feature-length debut, because he's made numerous horror shorts that are on YouTube.
Yeah. I want to call him a YouTuber, but I guess he's more elevated than that.
Yeah, but OG
A YouTuber
YouTuber.
plus.
Yep.
Yeah. The one that I was most familiar with, which I don't think is his most known, who's to say, was The Cat with Hands, which came out, he put that out in 2002. Nope, 2001.
No, so YouTube... Oh, well, YouTube didn't exist yet.
I know,
so-
but then it was put on YouTube,
I gotcha.
and that's where you can see all his shorts. I think Monsters might be his most known, and it has its own Wikipedia page, but...
I had never seen A Cat with Hands, and so we watched it after the movie, and I think we all liked it better.
Better than the movie?
Yeah.
Because it had something complete to say.
Yeah, it was a great 3 minutes of our time
Damn,
versus this hour and a half.
We're already talking shit.
And I think our opinion, it appears to be the minority from what I've been seeing on the socials.
Yeah, we can outright say that all three of us found it to be pretty mid.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't actively dislike it. The stop motion parts of it were horrifying but beautiful, and I
they were
loved
really
that
well
part.
done.
But the in between parts and also the ending just left some things to be desired.
I completely agree.
Well,
and
so-
I said we're in the minority, so I don't know what we all three of us missed that everyone else is seeing.
Yeah.
But, so you can hear a negative review of it here.
Woo! We love negativity. Well, a little more on Robert Morgan. All of his short films have alternated between live action and claymation, and he's been working in stop motion for over 20 years.
That's wildly impressive to me. But I could never. I do not have the attention span, and I would probably fuck it up.
Yeah.
I would there would be jumps in wrong ways.
He did the stop motion for this movie.
It's very impressive.
And the
That's
editing.
awesome.
I loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm
But-
gonna feel even more bad talking shit because I'm assuming this movie's very personal to him. I'm sure it kind of...
Only slightly, from what I
Only
could
slightly?
tell from
Oh,
some
okay, I
of
don't
the
feel so bad then.
interviews.
All right, fuck it, I didn't like it then.
Only-
Maybe it's more about the genre, and he was it would be cool to make a full length
Part of
movie
that
about this,
is-
and then it's
yes. Yeah.
but why? What am I saying? Nothing. We don't know.
Part of
Yeah.
what I
Eggs.
saw in interviews, and I'll say when we get to what it means, I'll say what I read that he said it meant. But part of what he was saying where the idea came from is he was I haven't seen any full length films about stop motion or that and we're yeah, because why would there be? But that was where the jumping off point was.
Wallace and Gromit and the Were-Rabbit.
But that's is
Not
stop
about
argue,
stop
but
motion. Oh, no.
There are
about
stop motion.
plot
Fair.
wise, yeah.
True, everyone
just-
loves Wallace and Gromit, right?
Although
Really?
if you
It
take
scares
Yes.
me a lot.
Everyone loves
No,
Wallace
it
and
always
Gromit.
freaked me out as a kid.
Scary,
wow, all
so
right.
scary.
I guess Gumby is stop motion, but that was before.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Gumby.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, more fun facts?
I just have more fun facts about the cat with hands because that was
Okay,
more
all right,
interesting
go
to
ahead.
me.
Go ahead.
A Film Threat ran an article describing that as a mandatory viewing for anyone who wants to write a horror movie.
Cat with hands?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind
think
of
that's
agree
fun.
with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Everyone go watch it. It's free on YouTube.
Yeah.
It goes back to the I can't remember which famous author said this, but they were if you want me to write you a 60-page story, I can do it in 3 hours. If you want me to write a 3-page story, I'll need 60 days. Where if you can put it into anybody can blather on forever and ever,
Yeah.
but if you want to say something concisely, then you have to have a thought. And I feel The Cat with Hands has a very clear sort of purpose versus this movie again, a lot of it is visually stunning, but like ultimately, what did he say? I think all of us were left confused by the ending.
Figure out
and
fully. Like
in interviews, you're like, "What does this mean?" And he's like, "I won't tell you."
Yeah,
well, that's stupid.
Yeah, on the surface, I definitely know what he's saying, but there's definitely deeper things that you could get from the movie, but I don't know if that's what you're supposed to get, or if like it's kind of taking a wild leap to get there. And I don't know if that's fair either.
And I think, yeah, like a lot of people online come to the same conclusions about like what the main character's trauma was potentially, since it isn't ever said. But at the same time, like, are we all just reading into it? I don't know.
We could very much be. And that's like, and like, to be fair, like, what the author wants the text to be doesn't necessarily, like, that's not the only reading of it. That's, you know, why
art
literary
is open to interpretation.
Death of the author, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also interesting if that's not the intention. Like, I don't know. But yeah, that's really all the background I had is like, clearly he is like a prolific short film maker in especially like stop motion. He's very well known for that. So I know people who like were in that sphere were really excited for this movie to come out. And this movie did do very well critically. It has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. And every video I've seen on TikTok about it was like heavily praising it. And that's why
the trailer looks
we wanted
horrifying,
to watch it.
like in a good way. I was excited about it. I thought that I would hate it because it would be scary, but like
the cover of this, like the
broken
film
face
cover is horrifying.
Any scene that stop motion is really, really good. And any scene outside of that, I wanted to go to sleep. So
I did doze off a
that's
little
how
bit.
I feel. I kind of just wanted them to make the movie that she was making and just show me that, and I would have had more fun, I think.
But that would just be a short.
Sure,
which again,
give me that.
Another
I'd be fine with
horror
that.
short.
I've
from
long
Robert
said
Morgan.
that horror movies, or horror in general, is usually best in short form content, or like placed in a non-horror movie, but you have like moments of short form horror. I think that usually works better.
Like
it's
some of
not
the scenes
easy.
in Jurassic Park.
Sure, I was thinking Twin Peaks, but
classic.
That's where his brain has been for weeks.
yeah.
He
for a
started
while.
off saying how much it reminded him of Twin Peaks, and then
more of Lynch initially,
Lynchian.
and then as it went on, I was like, nope.
As he
this is the
started to
anti-Lynch.
not like it, he decided it was
wasn't.
not like Lynch.
Yeah, well, probably because Lynch is good.
The gold room, I will say, felt very like a scene in Twin Peaks,
definitely. Yes.
Yeah. So let's do 15-second summaries.
Oh, I forgot that was a thing you guys do.
Yeah,
I do love this part. I
we
think it's
forget
very
it
You do?
often. I hate it actually. Like I've just.
I wouldn't.
It
I don't
stresses
want.
me
I'm
out
not
so
excited to do
much.
it, but I love that it happens.
Okay.
Well, I'm
great
good.
joy.
Then I guess we should keep doing it if it brings someone joy. Okay, Matt, you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay. I have nothing to say.
Okay. I'm ready. All right, a woman with very severe undiagnosed schizophrenia makes a stop motion film and then kills her friends and family. And then I think she makes the movie. I don't know.
Let's not
Yeah, like,
armchair diagnose.
All right, sorry. Well,
My main question is: does the film actually exist?
I hope.
I don't know.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Because she would like wake up after her trances and like watch it back, but like, did that happen?
I hope. I
Or was she just
enjoyed
in
that
a
she-
room going insane?
We don't actually know if she's good at stop motion because we really
She could
don't
suck.
actually see her.
We see like
Actively
the
do
little
much.
bit that she does with her mom of like the Cyclops,
And
or
her
whatever.
mom's creative.
Yeah, but like she's the one who like
Direction.
moves them, I guess. So like
Yeah, I
the
know.
physical skill of it, I suppose she has. Mm-hmm. 2 millimeters.
2 millimeters. Okay. Do you want to time?
I'm assuming. Hold on. Yeah. Who's going? Anna or Hannah?
I can go. That's
Okay,
why
Hannah,
I handed it
ready,
to
go.
you. Shit. Woman who's essentially a puppet is other people are pulling the strings of her life. That was nonsense. I'm sorry.
All right. Yep. They do say that. That's
Yeah,
not even
They
subtext.
literally,
They
explicitly say
that.
like you are. A
I
puppet.
actually also hate that it's so
It's said
explicitly
like multiple
I
times.
know, but it's a beautiful line that she says.
Yeah, I
which
like
is
the quote.
unfortunate that
I
it is
will
like
say that.
both overly explanatory
just,
and
like,
also like.
Don't feel like it was even that true outside of her relationship with her mom. But that's just
Yeah,
me.
but like for the rest of the movie, she's not really making her own decisions either.
Sure.
It's like all the little girl, which is
The little girl's her,
maybe
though.
her. Yeah, but like not her consciously.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, this is where this movie falls apart for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
All right. It's Black Swan, but instead of ballerinas, it's claymation, and not as good.
I was waiting for
you could
say
take the
and
Black
worse.
Swan.
Yeah.
We could cover Black Swan. I never thought about that.
That'd be a really good one.
I would like
we
to.
should have done that
I
instead.
watched it with my father.
I watched it with my mother. Huh. It
It's
was
good.
an awkward first watch.
It's very good.
Oh,
Right? Like, it's like
incredible.
really
But there
good.
is like
Yeah.
the scene of them going down on each other that was just
That's
like,
fine.
"What up, Dad? I'm in high school. Let's watch this movie."
That was basically the same, except I was with my mom, and we all know my mom can be like,
She probably
make
giggled.
sex jokes and stuff. So I was like, I really don't need this to inspire any conversation later that I don't want to be a part of.
So, Hannah, do you know what that was? Please don't.
Yeah, please leave me alone.
All right. Should I give the full-on
Yes.
description?
Did you edit from
I edited
the
mostly.
horrible robot words?
Yes. Yeah, whoever wrote the Wikipedia one definitely used ChatGPT because it was nonsense. And that's the first time I've noticed that. So, I'll do my best here. Beginning now, unable to use her hands due to arthritis, stop-motion animator Susan enlists her daughter Ella's help in completing her most recent film. When Susan suffers a stroke and falls comatose, Ella resolves to finish the film on her own. Ella's boyfriend Tom invites her to live with him while Susan recovers, but Ella instead chooses to rent a studio apartment to continue finishing the film. She encounters a young girl living in the same building who curiously asks her about the project. She calls the story boring and presents Ella with a different story about a young girl lost in the woods. Ella discards the original project and begins to bring the film to life. The girl visits once more and complains that the figures don't look real enough, insisting to use spoiled steak for the dolls to emulate flesh. Ella hesitantly complies. The girl continues her vision of the story, stating the young girl is hiding from an entity called the Ashman. Ella forms the figure, but the girl denies it, insisting the Ashman must be crafted out of something dead, so she offers a fox carcass. Ella refuses, so the girl will no longer tell her the story. Ella asserts she can figure out it on her own, but has a creative block, so she asks Tom's sister, Polly, to give her some LSD in the hopes it will inspire new ideas. That night, she hallucinates the Ashman staring directly at her through the peephole, mirroring a segment from the film. Tom finds her passed out in her apartment, whereupon she realizes that she animated the Ashman approaching the girl's door, and that the acid Polly gave her is still in her pocket untouched. Polly, also an animator, sets Ella up with a job at the studio she works for. Her initial beliefs that she is hired as an animator are squashed when she's told to craft eyeballs, and she figures out Polly has plagiarized her film. Enraged, she destroys the set Polly created. Desperate, Ella remakes the Ashman puppet using the fox carcass. The girl resumes the story, stating the Ashman touches the girl, but Ella uncomfortably refuses to include it, instead deciding that the girl successfully escapes. After experiencing another hallucination of the Ashman pursuing her, Ella awakens in the hospital with an injured leg. She is visited by Tom, who says her project has gone too far and tells her of his plans to go to her apartment and demolish the set. Ella insists that she be the one to do it, and Tom agrees on the condition that he is allowed to watch. Ella then learns that her mother has passed away. Back at her apartment, Ella strangles the girl to death, only for her reappear unharmed seconds later and comfort Ella as she cries. The girl demands that the Ashman be remade with something bloodier. Ella removes the stitches on her leg and pulls out a strip of her own muscle. She is discovered by Tom and Polly, who attempt to rush her back to the hospital, but she kills them both and uses their flesh to create lifelike figures of the little girl and the Ashman. The Ashman then stalks towards Ella and the girl, who fearfully proclaims that this isn't part of the story. Ella allows the Ashman to accost her and eat from her face, which is now made of mortician's wax. Ella then enters a cabin in the forest, identical to the one in the film, where the girl is watching footage of Ella bleeding to death on her apartment floor. She tells Ella she loves the film. Ella smiles at her before stepping into a satin linen box and closes the lid.
Bravo.
There. Wow.
Thrilling.
I was doing so good, and then it got really hard near the end.
So,
Rereading that, there's so much going on. There's not a complete thought in this movie. There's like 10
There's also
half
like
thoughts.
parts
Yeah.
of the like Wikipedia description or whatever that I thought were going to be a lot bigger parts, like the plagiarization of her entire movie. But it was like 4 minutes of the movie, and
Yeah,
then
like,
they never
why?
talk about it
Like,
again. She's like,
literally
oh, she's
why?
mad about it, but like that's all that happens.
Yeah,
also why?
I don't understand
it's
why
an
that's a
already
plot point at all.
horrible place. She works in an ad agency as well. It seems like so. Like, how is this
Oh, I didn't
commercially
even catch
relevant? Yeah, I think she makes like commercials.
Oh.
And for some reason,
They were,
there's like everybody's obsessed with stop motion in this movie. So it's like everybody knows that her mom is like a rock star or whatever, and everybody uses stop motion, and they go to parties and everyone's like watching stop motion.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
that must be the life that this director actually lives, though.
That's
which
what I
is
was
very
thinking. Yeah,
funny.
like I guess I didn't realize how into it he was, but maybe for him that is how he sees the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like everyone's waiting for stop motion stuff to happen, even though none of us think about it ever, other than like in the context of Wallace and Gromit.
And Wallace and Gromit creators running out of clay.
What does that mean?
I don't know. That's just what they've said for years.
As in, like, the world is running out of clay, or like they made a bulk order many years ago and we're like, I guess we'll animate until
It's gone. I don't know. That's just always a talking point, though.
Yeah, I
like went to Costco and impulse bought clay. And they were like, I guess this is my life now.
Maybe it's a specific style of clay that they don't make anymore. Like
yeah.
it's a technology we don't have, like Technicolor in film.
Yeah.
Like we can't replicate.
But like clay it's like a physical thing.
Feels like we could figure that out again. I don't know.
I guess we are plundering our earth, so maybe we're like out of the specific element
Yeah.
it's made out of, like helium.
Yeah. Or something super dangerous. Who knows? I'm sure. Or it's just a talking point to get us to go see the movies. Yeah, just lead clay. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Just don't eat it. You'll be fine.
Well, you also can't touch it.
It does taste really good, though. That's the issue.
Clay?
No, lead.
Lead, yeah. Paint chips, delicious.
That's like
Better
why
than
kids are
regular
eating
chips.
it, is because like lead paint tastes good.
But actually, no, it does. It's like sweet, I think.
It's weird. Yeah, you learning this for the first time? Hannah?
Yeah, I am learning this for the first time. I just thought people were weird.
No, lead like smells
to me,
and
it
tastes
felt
good.
the same as like eating a laundry gusher. You're like, something about this intrigues me.
It calls to me.
Yeah, but a laundry gusher wouldn't taste good.
No, those I just like because they're
They
squishy.
smell good.
I do feel like the sensation of biting into it would be nice,
fun.
but then your mouth would be full of soap, and that would be less fun immediately.
Yeah.
It would be really not fun at all.
Yeah.
But I have been really wanting to like squish one in my hand and let it explode in my hand.
That you could for sure do,
You
especially
should go
if
in
you
the
did
shower
it
and do it.
either in the shower or just in like above your washing machine.
Yeah,
dry you
that
out
has
a
been
little.
one of my like intrusive thoughts recently, which is a great one to have because it's really
Not
not
the worst.
intrusive or life changing. It's just like squish this laundry pod before it goes in the laundry.
You should just do the shower orange instead. Have you ever heard about the shower
shower
orange?
orange.
You haven't heard about the shower orange?
No.
It's the idea of taking a fully peeled
Oh, I
orange
know
into the
this.
shower and you just go to town on the orange.
Oh.
Like you just squish it, like you just eat it, have it as messy as you want.
There's a guy
Use
on
it in the
Twitter
shower.
who rates shower foods.
I've seen him, yeah.
And then one time he dropped his whole food upside down in
I
the
thought
shower.
that was started with the shower orange. I
It
remember
might.
that guy
Maybe
coming
that's
from
that's
that.
what it sounds like.
All right, I'll get off the shower orange.
Anyway.
All right, yeah, we've digressed.
So, what did we think? Like, did we think this movie was scary?
The part with the Ash Man when he sees her for the first time in like real, quote unquote, real life, Hannah and I did both scream and close our eyes. We knew what was coming because it's like she's looking through a peephole and obviously there's going to be an eye on the other side, but it was still just startling and I didn't like it and we both screamed. And then also like at the very beginning after the mom like strokes out and falls on the ground, I also said like, oh my, and slapped my hands on my face because she like jumped up at her.
Yeah.
I would say I didn't find it really scary at all.
I find
rest of
the
it
body
I'd go-
horror really
That
bugged
was what
me.
I was about to say. I was saying I don't
didn't
find
mind
it
the body
scary.
horror.
Yeah,
I
there were
hate
just
it.
a couple moments like her pulling her muscle out. I felt that
Okay,
it
but
was
also,
gratuitous.
can I just say all of that work for like 2 inches of
She
like a
didn't-
very thin little strip? I'm like, I
Yeah.
thought that would be like her pulling out like most of her quad. And I'm upset that it wasn't because like what was the point of
What was-
all of
yeah.
that?
Yeah,
And she
it-
didn't even use it.
I
Yeah,
felt like
where
that
did that
those.
go?
I also just felt like the scene
then
was
she
just
got 2
unnecessary. He was like, "Ooh, we haven't had enough scary stuff going on."
It is necessary. It's thematically important that she
Oh, it
did
is?
that. Yeah.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Well,
sorry.
She has to put herself into the...
It's just
Into
put
her art.
Yeah.
That's fine. I get it. It just
then puts
it
other
felt like
people
we
into
needed
it.
a scare quota at that point, though, where they're like,
Yeah,
"Ooh,
I
we haven't made
agree.
it scary enough, so let's have some gross body horror."
There was a lot of
That
body
wasn't even
horror
good body.
in
It's
the
not even
last
good
half
body
hour.
horror.
We
A
did
lot.
really like the like little bits of the mortician's wax, like the part in the shower where she starts peeling into her leg, and like when her
like
legs
that.
turn into clay, like that kind of stuff was really cool.
And then when she's
But
like
it's
peeling
not
it
the same
off
as,
her
like-
face, and her face
You
is
know-
just clay, like I thought that was
But
creepy,
Poltergeist
but
did
that's
that way
not
better
gross.
30 years ago. Remember the scene in Poltergeist? Of the dude pulling his skin off because the ghosts are making him think he's pulling his skin off into the sink.
Yeah, but
Yeah, like that was like way
They do that in
scarier
Black
and
Swan
cooler
too. She pulls
looking.
off her like finger skin.
Whoa, I don't remember that.
that scene really bugs me in Black
I
Swan.
don't like it.
I don't like body horror period for the most part, so I did hide a lot.
I was expecting it to be worse, to be honest. Especially the leg part, I'm like, it could be so much more gruesome, but like she was essentially just like on the top going like this for 4 minutes straight. Like,
And
it's
by
not-
going like this, can you describe your motion,
I
please?
don't know that I can. She was like not really in her
Like kneading
leg.
it.
She was like, yeah, kind of like like fingering it sort of,
Yeah,
but like
basically.
not deep. And also she like barely, like I get it would hurt horribly. I could never do it. But like if you're gonna make her go that far, make her go that far and like wrench open her leg and pull out a big enough chunk rather than just like oh, it hurts, and then like voila, I got a little tendon,
strip.
like a little strip. Like go all the way or don't, but like it felt like a long time and a lot of buildup for not a lot of payoff.
I think most of my hides were just things I thought were gross. Total hides was 6. That feels actually low because I know you hit at least once or twice, and Matt also did once.
I didn't like watching her dig her muscle out.
And I feel like I did many times, so 6 might be incorrect. And then there were 3 screams, which 1 was you and 2 were me. 1 was at the same time.
I'll say the scariest scenes in the movie were all the claymation stuff, and that was also the most fun.
Yes.
Like anytime, and it was like the claymation was shot so
and, like,
well,
the dream
and he did it for
sequences
real.
of like her in real life and the
and in
claymation.
clay.
Yeah,
that was like the coolest parts. And it, like you said, the movie she's making is awesome because clearly the guy, the director,
Robert
is
Morgan
really
is-
talented.
yeah, it's
really
very
good
That's what he
at
was
it.
making, but it is hard for me not to be like, I kind of just want to see the movie that she was making.
the other part, like the part where she turns into like the tiny little clay and like runs into the wall and he's like playing
That's
it
great.
through. I thought that was also really good, and that wouldn't have existed if it was just the
Sure.
claymation movie.
And I think it's
Maybe she
obviously
needed more.
thematically
Yeah.
important because the story she is animating clearly means something, but what is honestly the problem is that there's such a disconnect between what she's actually animating and her life. Like,
and
they
I feel
don't put it together well
don't,
enough.
I don't think they gave us enough about like her past for us to like
Completely
be
agree.
able to make that jump where like yeah, we see that like her mom is really mean to her and we see that like she has kind of like been under her thumb her whole life, but like we don't know anything about the rest of her life. So like
we know nothing about
we know nothing about her
parents.
dad, we know nothing
Yeah.
about her trauma, her like childhood, even though we see this like child her, but like we don't know anything about it.
And I find this is where it completely loses me. And maybe it is a show don't tell and I'm just dumb. But, sorry, Anna's drinking Diet Coke.
I have a drinking
And just
problem.
spilling it
A
everywhere.
la airplane, not a real one. I just spilled Diet Coke all over my
So when I'm watching this, when they obviously it's okay, the little girl is her, and I am assuming this is some repressed memory, and the little girl is reminding her of a bad thing that happened to her. My
That's
thought
also
was
what I
that
was
she
thinking.
was molested because
That's what
the
a lot of
Ashman
people
tries to
think,
touch her.
yes.
But it's
that
just
never
not
came back up again.
expounded on enough.
There's not enough there to be like, is that a real thing that they're implying, or is everybody just jumping to the same conclusion because like girl
But it
trauma
just
young?
makes
I don't know.
sense.
Yeah.
And it's her. But
And
the
touch.
guy that I
And
assumed
touch.
was touching her was the Ashman, which ashes to ashes, all ideas about death. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, is the Ashman like the Grim Reaper? Is the Ashman death? We weren't
I
answer
don't-
that
I was-
either.
I was going to ask, actually, what do you guys think is the significance of the Ashman?
I just
besides
thought it was gonna
maybe
be-
symbolism of someone who molested her.
I think
Or
that
is that
feels more
it?
believable. Death feels like the wrong move, even though it is like ashes to ashes, but that doesn't feel right. Because it's like the
I
man nobody
agree.
wants to meet, and like I guess,
But yeah,
but like,
death.
but everyone's
People are
going
afraid
to,
of death.
so like that's
Death is one of that's part of why evolutionarily we have religion, is to explain what happens when we die, because
Yeah.
it's such a common fear.
I'm saying my issue
But-
is that being that unclear, and I could read it either way, but neither of the meanings mean anything. Like I could read that either direction,
it's
but
just
neither
it
of
goes
them
back
actually.
to it feels unfinished because
Yes.
it's not a complete thought where it's like it's fine to have that ambiguity, but you need to have like something compelling about either one or both sides,
And they just don't.
And they don't.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Same with like the egg, which I'm sure we'll get into,
Yes,
but like
that
I
was-
don't get it. I don't get it.
Many thoughts about the egg that I found from other people that I've just been trying to process who I agree with, because
agree with
truly
most.
I have like very little thought. But if the Ashman isn't death, why does it have to be made out of something dead? I guess that's the one thing where I do feel like the Ashman is representative of someone who molested her, but then why be called the Ashman and why
Death
does
of
it need to be-
innocence.
I think
There
it's
you
just
go.
that she wanted it all to be made out of something dead / like something
Disgusting.
real and gross and like painful, I guess.
Well, and actually in stop motion, to be fair, they do use raw meat.
Nice.
So like
Do they cover
that,
it in mortician's wax and makes it look weirdly wet like the little girl's face?
they do use mortician's
Well,
wax.
clearly he
Robert,
did for this movie.
I mean,
He did not. Robert Morgan typically does not use mortician's wax with his stop motion. But I was reading something about it, like why he chose to use it, and I really didn't retain that because it didn't seem important to me. I think he thought,
but it is like a thing.
yeah, like the correlation with that and death and like funeral homes is scary. I think that was like kind of
So
why he used it.
So instead of representing death, though, saying it could represent death of innocence if we're going with the that she was like assaulted plotline.
Yeah.
However, there's still no follow through on that.
know.
It ends up being more about, oh, she's been a puppet to her mom, but it was like you kind of just open up this whole thing that she clearly has some childhood trauma that she's repressed.
Well, it's just like a giant can of worms.
Yes.
That they don't put back in.
But like that's a cool idea to be like, you have your young version of yourself that remembers what happened to you, is trying to remind you through this work. That's Lynchian there. Just
I think
saying.
that's a really cool idea.
That's great. But then instead we get to this third act where it's just, oh, she's just crazy and kills her boyfriend and boyfriend's sister and like
and like
it
literally
just goes
why?
nowhere.
Like I don't know why they needed to include her being a murderer.
I also hate
I don't really
it.
get
I think
Absolutely hate it.
I think it was more to do with the fact that like she wouldn't have killed them if they didn't come and check on her and like try to stop her from making her movie, but she felt like she had to finish it, and the only way that she would be able to finish it is to stop them from stopping her. Was my understanding of that, because they were like trying
That's
to
fine.
drag her to the
I just
hospital and
think
like
it's-
destroy the
I
rest
just
of
thought
her
it was
work.
unnecessary because it's like
Yeah.
I just think it takes away from the rest of the movie.
Again, I
And
feel
it-
like instead of them killing the other two, she should have just taken more from her leg. But
Yeah, actually, like, and just have them not show up.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Also, yeah, like I feel like I read different things about the satin box being like a coffin, and so her going and like killing her adult self to leave her child self, and like I don't know that I fully buy that. I also read something about she's being like a puppet put back away in the box as opposed.
I do like that.
And I like that more.
interpretation better.
But again, they call her a puppet, again, explicitly and implicitly, but I don't think that went far enough either. We really only see her be controlled by her mother and like sort of the little girl, but
Her little girl,
the little girl
is
is
herself,
her,
so,
so
then what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like how does
And
that
then
work?
nobody else
You can't
controls
say
her.
the boyfriend tried to control her. She
No.
never listens to anything he says.
Exactly.
So,
He didn't control
like,
her at all.
He was just like, you can
until they
crash
tried
here.
to take her to the hospital because she was cutting into her own leg.
Yeah,
Like,
somebody
pretty
needed to
reasonable.
intervene.
I feel like the coffin can, if you relate it to like the sorry.
Sound it out. You got this. All right.
Like the general concept of like her as an artist and like wanting control over her heart and her life, you can like think about it like her mom did pass away, and so that's like her not being able to navigate life on her own.
The
Like
strings were cut.
that's her like being still unable to escape from her mom. Like her mom's dead, so she
So she has to
useless
be
too.
dead?
Yeah.
Yeah. She also like
be an
apparently
interpretation, I
said
don't
what
know.
she needed to say, and then is like, what is life's purpose without
Yeah.
this art that I've only
Yeah,
ever
too.
had one story, and it was only kind of mine because little me had to tell me. So
And
I don't know.
do we feel like there's any significance with the meat? Like that's all she feeds her mom is weird cuts of meat.
Like
I actually
organs.
totally
are very
forgot.
raw.
I totally
Forgot
forgot
about
about that. That
Yeah.
mom was eating like liver and all this different stuff. I really don't know.
I just think
be
it's
honest.
more
I
was
just about like
seeing-
things are creepy. Her mom is fucked up.
Yeah. I feel like I saw someone on Reddit that was analyzing like every single detail of this movie, and I don't know if I agree with all of their analysis, but something they suggested is that was something she had control of, was like feeding her mother and cutting her mom's food because her mom physically could not do that. And so now that
even
she
that, the
does not
mom-
have to give it to her mom, she's now putting that in her art. So it's like something that's still transferable
Oh, I
from
can
her
see
mom
that.
to her art.
I guess.
I just find that to be like,
A reach?
I don't want to call it
Dumb.
pretentious, but it feels like a
Like
reach.
a reach.
That's fine.
I did also like about the cutting it up and stuff. Like her mom still criticized her for how she did that. So like
Even though she
just, like,
physically can't even do
yeah,
it.
like deeper trauma, I guess. But again, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, to answer your original question about how scary we thought it was, again, aside from those like couple of little jump scares, mainly creepy. And I think the sound of it was really, really well done. The sound design between the stop motion and just like the regular kind of sound, yeah, I guess soundtrack is the word. It did cause like a feeling of dread for a lot of it, but because it was balanced out with boring plot, it kind of fell flat.
I agree with that. And I think like when I go to score this, which I have no idea how to do whatsoever, any like points that it is getting is because the stop motion looks
Entirely
sick as fuck,
because of the
and
stop motion.
because those things creep me out a lot.
Yep.
And the like kind of quasi reality versus stop motion.
The mixture, the crossover ones, like the Who Framed Roger Rabbit type shit.
It's interesting because the stuff in this movie that Robert Morgan is known for are done really, really well.
It's the best part.
It's the things that took it from a short to a feature film that aren't great.
Like, if it had just been a short of her in that apartment the whole time, trying to do her movie, and then having those nightmare sequences, and then doing the movie and having the nightmare sequences, and then watching it.
That would have ripped.
Done.
Yeah.
Beautiful movie. Do not have the rest of it.
And coming to terms with the repressed memory of...
Yeah. Or dying, or whatever.
Or whatever it is,
Yeah.
That just feels like that's like... That feels like it was there and it got cut. And I think that's what frustrates me, is that it feels like there were a lot of things that were there that just, like, didn't end up in the movie.
Well, apparently he did say that, like... So she cuts her leg, or there is a cut in her leg. She wakes up in the hospital with stitches in her leg, which is later what she rips open to, like, grab shit out of her leg. But we don't know where the fuck that cut came from, and he says he took it out. That it was in the movie, it was filmed, and it was removed.
Did he say what it was? Because I'm still confused by that.
He did not.
Like, that was the night that before she wakes up in the hospital was when the little doll from her movie came up, like, into her bedroom. So, like, did the doll do it? Was it the Ash Man?
We saw in her dream,
yeah.
right? The doll, like, ripped it open or something. Don't you remember that?
But it was clearly, I would argue, it's not her, because then when she did it later, like, we got to see that, and that was thematically relevant. So if she did it this time, why was that not relevant enough for us to see?
Yeah.
And his quote in the article I was reading, and I clearly did not copy and paste that, so whoops. But what he said about it was basically like, I figured people can, like, make their own interpretation instead of, like, directly seeing it.
That feels
which
like
is like, no.
That's fine sometimes. It just, when every idea feels sloppy and half-baked, like...
The same thing with the egg, then. It's like, okay, I figured people could come to their own conclusions.
Yeah,
so
we should talk about the egg. There is a bunch of shots. There's a bunch of shots of this random egg, and at the end it cracks, right? Is that...
well, also he feeds her the mouth egg.
Oh, I forgot
about that. Yeah, the mouth egg
too.
was extremely alarming, and my note was basically like, why did he feed her mouth poop? Except it originally said poop, and I didn't know what I was talking about, but...
Well, yeah, we saw somebody on Reddit saying that, like, their assumption was that, she was assaulted, got impregnated, and then had an abortion. Was one option, which, like, again,
it's taking a lot of leaps.
But yeah, there's...
Because
people are trying really hard to like a very mediocre movie.
Eggs and fertility, like eggs is very much symbolic of fertility. Not necessarily in this movie.
It doesn't have to be fertility. It could also be about...
I'm not saying in this movie, but I'm saying
rebirth.
In media, it's fertility and rebirth are typically what eggs symbolize.
But
and this, I don't think, is fertility unless, again, she did get impregnated. But, like, we have no evidence of that whatsoever, and we have no evidence that she would have gotten an abortion at all.
No, exactly. I think it just requires too many leaps for that to be correct. But at the same time, it's clearly an important motif. It's how they open the film, which I didn't even realize was the beginning of the film. Yes. I thought it was, like, a production company logo or something.
Do we never get back? There's that great shot at the beginning where she's, like, in a club, and it's like all the lights are flashing on her. That never.
I love
that.
But what did that never came back?
No, it just
she never went to another club, did she?
It just looked really cool.
Yeah, no.
Like what? You can't just put stuff in there.
I think it was like because the face was changing between like being happy and being like kind of fucked up and like.
Yeah.
I don't know. And again, because it was flickering like a strobe light, that's like kind of to simulate the stop motion, right? Of like the like the different
It was really cool looking.
Yeah.
I just like wanted more.
It just seemed like, out of place.
Yeah.
Like you didn't do anything with it.
I'm totally fine with people putting stuff in movies just because it looks cool. But this one aggravated me, to be honest.
I think the issue why it's so aggravating is because some things clearly did mean something, but enough of it doesn't. And if all of your shit is kind of an open to interpretation and nonsense, that's one thing, because if it looks cool and it's cool, that's different. But like if half of it is fleshed out and the other half isn't, then that's a problem to me. Like I would say Inland Empire, I have no fucking idea what that movie was saying, but like it's just weird. I don't know if it's supposed to be doing anything besides
it does that movie
weird.
Says a lot, but you gotta get another. You fell asleep, so
yeah, so
I'd have to get another watch.
Maybe it's that.
But like on the surface, that shit's just weird as fuck. I'm like, it's allowed to just be that.
I will say that the difference is that movie takes place entirely within dream logic, as a lot of Lynch's movies do. Where this one, because it goes back and forth, but like you're never really sure when you're in like dream world versus.
Which again, that can be done really well too. Of
It
like
can be.
not knowing what's real and what isn't. But again, yeah, I don't think this walks
That's
that
just been
line.
done so
The
many
egg.
times. That's
Also,
what I
yes,
thought, yeah.
it does feel like a lot of this movie is
I feel like I've seen this movie
revisiting
before.
tropes, but in a less good way. But because it has some of the really cool stop motion stuff, it's like, oh, neat. But that's not enough to carry the rest of the movie.
Did you have any interpretations of the egg?
No, I have no idea.
Also, the fact that it breaks.
I think, well, that is something to do. It's either like just very on the surface, breaking under pressure,
Yeah.
which would be too on the surface, I feel like.
Also, mostly unrelated, but have you
She's-
ever tried to crack an egg with your hand? Because if you hold it like without digging your fingers in, you can't break it, which is fun.
It's really strong. All right.
Yeah.
Thrilling.
Yeah.
We love that.
Anyways, this egg did break.
But I think it's probably like her suppressed memories or repressed memories breaking through. Like her coming to terms with something
but we
she
didn't-
didn't
I'm
have.
we didn't-
so aggravated.
We didn't
we don't
see
know what
her.
happened.
We didn't see her come to terms with anything.
Yes,
She just got in a box.
That is the problem.
She got in
or
the
just
box.
or just in general,
What
like,
happened on
her
the third night?
acknowledging that she has childhood trauma and that
Apparently,
is
he
her.
eats her face.
The second night, the Ashman touches her. What happened? Is that the third
That's
night?
the other part. I'm
You
like,
mean-
you didn't even finish the short story that was the most
The
important
third
part.
night.
Because,
was that it? She
yeah.
just gets 8.
I guess.
This is, yeah. Even when we trying to justify it also aggravates me because then we're just like, I'm just like seeing, I'm poking more holes. And I don't feel like we're doing like CinemaSins poke holes. We're just like annoyed because we see.
What was it that I
Friends.
mentioned that you said don't CinemaSins? But I was
I
like,
don't
that
remember.
feels like a good thing
It
to
was probably the stop.
Call
Everyone's
out.
loving stop motion or no?
Maybe.
I don't know.
It was something that it's like, yeah, we can explain that away in the context of the film and like who actually cares, but when everything else is so annoying, then it becomes like,
This
I'm
also.
gonna nitpick it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
So I read an article where he says, like, they ask him what the egg meant.
What do you say?
Nothing.
It's so funny. He says, it's mysterious. I can't
Wow.
really talk about it. For me, it has something to do with death and something to do with creativity. That's all I can say about it.
Get the fuck out.
I
Either know what you're saying or don't put it in.
It's and like he probably does, and he's like, "Watch my fucking movie, you'll get it." But we
I
we
just
don't
get
get
it.
it. We're just dumb. Everyone else likes it.
And again, I think it's fine if you're like, art is open to interpretation. However, this is what I meant.
I just feel like it should mean
Do with
something
that
to
what you will.
to put it in your fucking
Yes.
movie or your book or whatever.
And I think it's okay to say that to people and then say like, you can take from it whatever you want to, but like, this is what I thought. But you don't have to do the whole like, oh, well, you should just watch it and see because
Yeah.
you showed us nothing.
And if he's saying it has to do with death and it has something to do with creativity, then it's definitely
Is that saying that like the creativity caused her to die? Like she was too creative. People didn't think she knew how to think. Turns out she was too creative. It overwhelmed her. She had to die in a box.
nailed it.
We've solved
You
it.
got it.
Solved it.
I was thinking, so Jordan Peele has, I think, notoriously said, like, yeah, I'm not going to tell you what my films mean. But the thing is, even though his movies have plenty of interpretations, it's, like, very easy for me to get from point A to point B. Or, like, everything kind of, like, comes together. And I do think Nope is extremely
I was going to say
complex
like
and
the shoe
conflicted.
standing up, him not explaining that explicitly, but that doesn't bother me because the rest of the movie is
It
very
works.
good.
I also think there are interpretations that
yeah.
make complete sense within the context of the rest of the
Of
movie.
course.
And I do find that movie to be conflicted in its themes, and I think that's fine too because at least they're there, and you
Mm-hmm.
can see like he is internally conflicted with the
Which,
themes.
again,
so
is
he's
how
like,
life
I'm gonna
is.
I'm gonna portray both of these and have them fight against each other in my own movie, and it's like, oh my god, you're a fucking genius.
Yeah, oh wow,
But
that's
this
actually
guy,
interesting to
I just
watch, but-
don't see it at all. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, he's clearly very talented, and I'm
Also,
like,
why
what?
did the egg come out of the mouth?
It just pooped an egg. I don't know.
Well, that could be part of
Mouth
it. If it was an assault, then she was impregnated, then that was the Ashman impregnating her via rape.
but why
or
would it
whatever
come out
was.
mouth? That's
'Cause you
not
can't
what-
show-
Because it looks creepy.
wiener.
Yeah, because it looks creepy.
And that would be a little too explicit.
Or, I mean, again, this is like, it gets really dark if you try going down this route, which maybe you should have. Probably because a child, they were like a child would not have the proper words.
to like
like,
really articulate or
or-
process
yes.
being.
I guess that's true. Where it's like
raped.
point to this doll or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, he
Yeah.
put an egg in me.
Yeah,
It's like, well, that's
which is-
not quite it, but yeah.
And
Yeah.
Well, again, what we're saying is dark, but that would have made a much better story and movie.
Or what you thought was going to happen, which was that she was impregnated, and then took the fetus and used that in the stop motion
Oh my God.
of it.
I didn't. No, I don't think I thought
Not
that was
thought,
going to happen, but I had a moment of that.
Which, like, again, very dark, but
That's
like,
fucking scary.
yeah, right? It's supposed to be a horror movie. But I guess,
Holy
especially
shit.
given the political realm, maybe that's a bridge too far.
No, I like that.
Go for it.
Yeah,
Real art takes courage.
Yeah.
true.
So, when we're thinking about what this actually means, what we can definitively get from the text of the film, like the altogether product.
All I have is what he said. It definitely has to do with creativity and like sacrificing yourself for your art.
And
Yeah,
basically finding your creative voice and trying to like make
and like
figure
using
out how to use that to like
using
actually
your
make
life
art.
and your trauma and channeling it through your art, and that sometimes can consume you in a negative way, but like that feels
That's fine.
like it's
I've
great.
seen that. I've seen
Okay.
that many times before. That type of
People can get too obsessive about things they love, and it can ruin their life.
I'm
But,
worried
like,
about. I'm worried about him. Like if this is the story he's telling,
does he need help?
are you all right? Yeah, I mean like
Maybe this is his like somebody needs to stop me from making more
Maybe-
stop motion.
the Wallace and Gromit guy. I don't think he's ever.
Is he
concerned?
okay? Do
Is
we
he
know?
good? I mean, it also could be stop motion. Clearly, is grueling.
Oh, God.
Like and like
Very
yeah. I mean,
impressive, but-
if you choose to that form of art, I'm sure there's definitely
Well,
some.
he said he also liked the idea of portraying that because it is kind of scary how isolating it is.
Oh yeah, I believe
Totally
that.
the
isolating.
concept of doing
They-
something so isolating.
They
is
also
scary.
have the line about like bringing something dead to life.
Yeah, the direct quote from that was, "It's a wonderful media, bringing dead things to life."
Yeah,
But that you could say that about anything with art, not
I know.
necessarily physically.
I mean,
dead,
if we
but-
do want to go like philosophical or whatever, the dead thing she brought back to life was like her memories of like what happened to her as a kid, of like it was dead to me, but because the rest of my world kind of fractured when my mom died, then like this part comes back and I have to grapple with it, and she's not really able to do that in a consistent, healthy way. I don't know.
I'm gonna be annoying, and I just like this is just a taste thing. I feel like I really prefer the story about the tortured artist where like they're still at a happy outcome, because like the point of art still is like you're putting yourself out there, but like what the end result is usually is like good, and it's like you're
cathartic,
putting yourself
at least,
yeah.
yeah.
And I'm thinking about the Fablemans a lot
Well,
where
it
like
seemed cathartic at the end for her when she like walks
That's
in the
true.
room and
She
watches
smiled.
the final product.
and
So
then
I
she
don't
gets
know.
in a box.
Yeah, and
So-
again, who's to say what that meant?
But I and it doesn't always have to be, because I get like there's plenty of tortured artist movies, but again I was saying like I think of the Fablemans where it's like there's a lot of bad and negativity that happened in Spielberg's life that like led to him creating, but the whole point is he still was able to like make miracles happen. I can't say that word
can't.
on film. Like that's like the point is like what he was able to create because of it, and like
yeah,
and
like,
then, like to
take-
channel that negativity into something good.
It becomes an outlet that
and
can change other people's lives for the better, as opposed to just being destructive and negative.
And I almost feel like this movie should have, maybe it was positive, like kind of should have had a happy ending. Like, yeah, maybe all this happens, but she like
then
finds
would
herself. By
go
the
to
end.
prison.
Yeah, that's what I'm
murdered
saying.
two
Killing the
people.
two people is where this thing gets
Yeah.
really tough.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with
Also,
that.
like, oh, nope, you know what it was that we were saying, the believability? When she was strangling her boyfriend, and he was, like, dying, but not dead yet, and she was able to keep her hands on his nose and mouth and not push her off, even
And
though,
then-
I'm sorry, like...
And then she got him up the stairs, but then was struggling to
Yes.
drag him into the room.
Yes, she
Yeah.
was somehow able to drag his body up the whole flight of stairs, but yet was struggling so hard, and somehow got him on a tarp that she just had, I don't know, but then was struggling so hard to pull him into the room. And I get adrenaline's a hell of a drug, but
Yeah.
like, no, I'm sorry. I'm a feminist with the best of them, but if I was trying to do that to my boyfriend, like, he could remove my hand, and I could not get him up a stairs if I had successfully killed him.
Yeah, he'd be staring down there.
Yeah.
I had a
Arrest
thought.
immediately.
You bring him outside then, put him with where she found the fox, but you
Yeah,
can't bring
drag
him to
him
the
down the
house.
stairs. You
Yeah.
can't drag him back up. That's
I had another
heavy.
tortured artist thought, and I started thinking about Whiplash, because obviously
Oh,
that does have like a
fucking stunning.
negative ending, but it's still at least like a little complex where his relationship with the art is not fully negative. However, like, and he is successful in the end, but at what cost, kind of? Like, that works when there is this conflict, but I feel like this is just almost saying, like, creation is hell. Art is hell. Like,
don't do stop motion.
Don't
it's
do
scary
stop motion.
And lonely.
But
I don't know if it's fully saying that. I think it's like finding your particular artistic voice. Like, there's plenty of people who like want to make something and then they're like, oh, I don't know if I actually have the talent or like the idea. Like, there are some people who can like write really well but then can't think of a fucking idea to write, i.e. George R.R. Martin and his like process of writing his black book for a million fucking years.
He has ideas, he just is
well, we don't know because you're not in his head, but like
he's talked about it on
just
stuff.
like just the general concept of like, I want to be creative and be good at something, but if I don't have the idea of what to make, then like I can't do it.
That's like everybody who's like, I'm gonna write a book. What about?
Speaking hold up.
And that's why she's a puppet caught in her own strings, because she's like overcomplicating shit for herself and getting stuck in it.
This all ties back to Lynch, who on record multiple times has said, if I ever forget an idea, I'll just kill myself. And on TV, they're like, you can't say that. And he goes, if I ever forget an idea, I'll put a gun against my head. Like, you just would say that shit over and over.
Way worse the second time.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those?
No.
It's so absurd. So that's what it comes back to.
Do you think there's any significance in her mom actually dying? Like, obviously there was significance in her doing the work for her mom being hospitalized and then leaving her with the actual opportunity to do something for herself. Does her dying change anything?
I guess it's like the final release, because like there was, in theory, like she was still there, she was still tied to her mom, like because you can't just abandon her in the hospital even if she is like kind of a vegetable, and she's making her own stop motion out of her mom, which I liked that moment of just, it didn't feel as deranged as the rest of the movie, but it was still just like a really weird thing for a person to do, except for her and her mom, it was like the most natural thing in the world. But yeah, I think it's just like the final kind of detachment from reality, maybe, because there isn't anything grounding her anymore.
Fair enough.
But even that feels more significant than it was in the movie, because I feel like
we passed through that so
really
fast.
Skipped through.
Yeah.
This girl really needed a therapist or a psychiatrist. Is all
that's
I'm saying.
all we. Yeah.
She needed to be in a padded room with no access to sharp objects.
How do you feel about that comment, Hannah?
I mean
it in the most literal sense. She was not safe to be by herself near weapons.
I mean, she was literally cutting into her own skin. Like, if they found her doing that, she would be admitted to a psychiatric hospital.
Yes,
the only way you get admitted is if you're a danger to yourself or others, and it has to be a severe danger. If it's not severe enough, they don't have a bed for you.
Like, that's kind of weird, is I obviously see that she's having hallucinations. Like, she's having delusions, right? But, like, when did they just started the second that she went into that new studio apartment and the little girl showed up? Like, was this happening beforehand?
Yeah. That's
the
other we don't know, because we know nothing about her life, aside from the fact that she was hands.
As you would say, was she always cuckoo bananas, or...
I love saying cuckoo bananas.
Yeah, and then you yell at me for saying she's schizophrenic.
Yeah, I wouldn't say cuckoo banana. Well, I probably have said it on the podcast, but,
one is specifically medical, the other is just cuckoo bananas.
Yeah, there's a difference. Also, just so you know, I don't know if you know the difference between hallucinations and delusions.
I don't.
Hallucinations is if you're seeing, hearing, whatever, your senses, something that's not there. Delusions is more like having a thought or a belief that is not rooted in reality or accurate.
So she had both, probably?
Well, I don't know if we have evidence of her having delusions.
I feel like it would mostly just be hallucinations.
It was just hallucinations in her case. Like, a delusion would be like...
Like a persecution complex.
Like someone would be like, someone's tracking me.
Oh, okay.
When people are like, I've been abducted by aliens, they're coming to get me again. That is considered a bizarre delusion, because it's not something that is like scientifically something that can be happening, or like there's no proof for that. There's bizarre delusions and non-bizarre delusions.
Got it.
Which is fun. Like, I know someone who had a delusion that their head was not attached to their body anymore. That is a bizarre delusion. That scientifically
All right, so she was not having either of those. She was just having hallucinations.
From what we can tell. She's having a lot of paranoia, which is also very common in schizophrenia and like a symptom, and hallucinations.
I did love that when we thought she took the drugs, she came out and was like, if I had to work in that office, I would fucking kill myself. And then it turns out she was not on drugs, and she was just being a bit of a cunt, but in a good way. Is that not allowed?
No, that's
we
funny.
say it.
Okay.
That is funny. That's
But,
one
like-
word that YouTube gets you immediate. What's it called? Like yellowed.
can bleep,
It's fine.
yeah.
I don't care. That's
We
funny.
never bleep.
But like,
Have we said the C word on
Oh,
this
I have
before?
said the
Oh,
C
then we're
word.
fine.
Trust me,
We're
I
not
said
big enough for
cunt or
YouTube to
twat.
get mad at us. Stop. You can say everything but that. It's pretty funny.
I don't
That's
think
silly.
it's
Twat you
true.
can say. It is true.
The grape word.
No, you can say that.
It's gotten
it's
us.
not- oh, it has?
Are like, yeah, I've had posts about that, like in Barbarian or something.
Well, I think
like
that's
that. It does
dumb.
not.
I think that's forcing people to infantile.
that's
I
all the
can't say
stuff
that
like
word.
unalive yourself. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is just it's not better.
Yeah, you're just.
We all
like-
know what you're saying.
just,
and
like,
if it's
in
going
an
to trigger
unsafe-
someone to have media about suicide, that's going to trigger
Oh, well,
them
they're not usually doing it
regardless.
for triggering reasons. They're doing it because
they
they're
don't
getting
get
censored.
censored.
But it's stupid because, like,
But like,
why would
yeah, I
you
don't think
censor,
that.
like, I don't know. It's like you're just
The
making
only reason
it
I would
less
think to
important.
censor that is
Yeah.
to not trigger or
And then you're
expose
having these,
people
like,
to
really-
everything.
The essay
serious-
and grape one is ridiculous.
Yes.
To say grape, like,
That's the thing. You're talking
Yeah,
about
that's
these
so
really
unserious.
serious subject matters,
And then kinda
you're
making it a joke
Yeah,
by
you're like
saying shit like
saying
that.
ridiculous nonsense or using emojis
Yeah, I
to talk
hate
about
that.
like these really
Or
serious
like when they say
things. It's like,
corn. Like
Yeah.
child corn. Like,
Ridiculous.
Like, what the fuck?
Insane.
the children
are we
of the
doing?
corn? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I've made like a TikTok where I might use a word that I think would be inappropriate. I will like mute if it clipping the podcast. I will mute the word and I will not put anything
Put the caption
in the caption
because like you can make the leap of like what this word is supposed to be without using
Yeah.
fruit or vegetables.
yeah.
All right.
Well, thinking about what the movie means, what the writer-director said is, it's like you have an overwhelming urge. I want to be part of that. I want to make art. And then you sit down and try and come up with something, but it feels like I don't know what I know or who I am or what I'm saying. And you have to very gradually earn that through life and through consuming other art. Gradually it happens. So that element I relate to. But Ella's mother was purely to accentuate that, to make that experience even worse for her. Because she's not only living in the shadow of somebody else, she's actually being almost used as a puppet herself by her mother.
Is this guy gatekeeping art?
Also, they're like, okay, so you just said you go to sit down and create something, you don't really know what you're doing. Then don't make a full-length movie. Hot take.
Is that what this is about? Is that he was making a full-length movie and got the funding to do that and said, should I be doing this?
He said, shit, wait, what comes
He's
next?
so mean.
She
so,
dies?
He's clearly so talented, and I feel
I
really
know, but
bad.
He
Well,
has
he
a
can
very
be-
specific talent. Do that.
He's very clearly, like, I think the directing was fine. I think the stop
I loved
motion's
a lot
fucking
of the
sick.
shots, actually.
And I think the editing is great. Like, everything he did besides the writing, I think he did
It's good.
a
I love the
great
Ashman
job.
coming out of her table
Yeah.
the first time. I love how they would position the shots so that we were looking like through the sticks that she was using as as the set on her table to like look at the door. I loved a lot of the like,
I loved a
actual
lot of his
visual
choices. I think
yeah.
the writing is
It's
the
just
problem
bad.
It
with
is
the
absolutely
movie.
just the
and
story.
it's really hard to get through that. Like, sometimes if a movie's pretty, you can sit through some nonsense, but to a degree, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I also think, I just don't know if I agree with him where he's like, to be able to make art, you have to like have hard things happen to you. And you know,
But
I
I
love
don't know
that.
if he's not saying that in that quote, but it
Which is
seems
you
like
have to
he's
live
saying
life.
that in the
You
movie.
have to like do this. He said something I interpreted that way, and it's like, listen, I like when people put themselves into the art.
guess
But you don't
maybe
have
he
to.
said
You can make great art.
A, you don't
can
have
just
to put
make.
yourself in it, and B, you don't have to have like the tortured artist. You don't have, to, be tortured. You
Yeah.
can just make art.
Yeah.
Because people have the ability to empathize and sympathize with other people's experiences, even if they have not done that themselves. Yes, we need to have space for people to tell their own stories, but like if you do it in a respectful way, you can tell other people's stories because some people are not storytellers but have compelling things happen to them, and those storytellers don't. And some people have compelling things happen to them and are not storytellers.
Agreed. You think George Miller had the plot of Mad Max happen to him? Or
yes.
is that just, it's about the trauma of living in Australia?
That's all that is.
Climate change is making things dry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've all sort of lived Mad Max. Also,
Exactly.
we've all had road rage.
Yeah. Yep.
Any favorite or scariest scenes? Do we?
Yeah, every scene, probably just the first time we see the bloodied doll like running through the forest. I love that shit.
I love her little
Ugh.
yeah,
sounds.
Horrifying. Truly
Somebody's
Also,
gonna
like,
clip that.
too wet. Well,
yeah,
both. Yeah,
everything
too
was
wet
very
and
wet.
sex sounds.
Yeah.
But it's really just like a little girl running through the forest. Also, I really didn't like his meat mittens. Like when he was like
like
touching
when he
her
like, did
face.
extendo.
Yeah, I didn't like the meat mittens, but I thought it was
scary.
interesting. And yeah, all of the I feel like the Ashman he was supposed to kind of grow up as the doll did through the various iterations, but also the fact that he always looked a little bit different when you saw him, and in very horrifying ways, I thought was really cool and
Agreed.
different. Like usually you have the monster and it looks the same way, but her monster changed throughout the movie.
Because I think, yeah, she's coming to terms with something that we clearly don't actually fucking know, but I think as you're coming to terms with things, like, your memory is very
Malleable.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say my scariest scene was him coming out of the table and what ensued.
The table, the eye on the first night also.
That
really just was
I
like,
didn't think that was that
it wasn't scary, but it
it
definitely
fucked me up. It was scary.
It also the eye was like very bloodshot and very blue though, very pretty in a gross way.
Did we find any terrible takes?
Yeah, it has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm just like not seeing it.
Also, Ryan Hollinger and his...
Well, I like him.
Yeah, I know, but him saying in his most recent video that this was his favorite horror movie of the year so far. I don't know when he started that video, because if you thought this was better than I Saw the TV Glow...
Yeah, I Saw the TV Glow was significantly better.
I mean,
even the
Late Night with the Devil
that was what I was thinking of.
certainly better to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's not doing anything nearly as deep. That doesn't
we
mean it can't be
we
a
like
good
Ryan
movie.
Hollinger, but I usually agree with him. I did not agree with him on this one.
A lot of
It was a hard
people
disagree.
gave it very high ratings and said, yeah, like genius, one of the best movies I've ever seen, dealing with trauma and art. I'm like,
Everyone out there, don't see this. Go watch I Saw the TV Glow instead. Please.
But also do watch the parts that have the stop motion because it was really good and the little girl's face is
Like,
fucked up.
I understand watching this movie and I understand liking things about it because the things I liked, I thought were like 10s out of 10 moments. But
not like it.
As an entity, as a thing, product as a whole, it's poop. I saw a tweet that said, to me, I just don't get it. This tweet said, finally watched Stop Motion last night, and about a third of the way through, I thought, I think I love this movie. And then I finished it, and it was absolutely incredible. Truly amazing creature work, excellent sound design, wonderful acting, a total treat for any horror fan. I agree with amazing creature work, excellent sound design, wonderful acting. Wouldn't call it a total treat.
That is something we haven't mentioned. I think the main character, Aisling, and the little girl were both very, very well done. But that cannot save not having a good plot.
It's so hard to look past that. Like, that is the movie.
It just ends up feeling like every horror movie I've seen where a person is hallucinating another person telling them to do stuff and then does killings and goes crazy while the character that we didn't know wasn't real is there. And so like when I got done with this, I was like, I saw a movie called Shrooms years ago that reminded me of this, and that movie was dog shit. And like I think they had the kid that played Joffrey in it, I think.
Hey.
But it was basically about a girl that takes shrooms and then all her friends start getting killed, and then it turns out she was actually the one killing them all along. And that's exactly how this felt to me. And I was like, I just like walked away just being like, yeah, I've seen this horror movie like in 10 different iterations and they were all not good.
I will say I did like the fact that there were moments when she tried to change the narrative and like didn't just fully accept her descent into madness. Like she says on night 2, he's supposed to touch her, but she says no, on night 2 she escapes. And then she tries to kill the little girl too, and she tries to like not hear the rest of the story.
You can't change what happened to you.
Like, but we don't know that happened.
You can change how you process, you can change how like you feel about that essentially, and you can like learn to process that and develop coping skills to move forward. But you can't change what the fuck happened, which I think was clear.
Yeah, but I like that she like tried to take some agency, even if it didn't.
We don't know that it happened
because it didn't
though.
Change anything.
That's the thing. At that point, we still didn't even know the little girl was her.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't...
When did we find that out?
I mean,
did we find that out?
We found that out when she strangled... I would say when she strangled her.
Oh, yeah. Said, got that out of your system, which I thought was funny.
That was funny.
But
yeah.
That's what I'm frustrated about, is the whole thing just feels very sloppy to me. From a writing perspective, a narrative perspective. Everything else is cool, but sometimes you don't have to have narrative. Like you said before, we could have just had a creepy movie. I loved Skinamarink, as I've said on this podcast. Skinamarink fucking ruled, and there's not much of a narrative. It's just really scary.
I guess maybe that's like why, if it had just been her in the apartment, but going between the nightmare and the stop motion, it would have been more similar, because there isn't a whole lot of plot. It's just one person kind of going cuckoo bananas.
And then we would have very easily been like, oh yeah, something bad happened to her as a kid. She'd probably get assaulted.
Yeah, but like really cool movie.
Yeah,
really well done.
Yeah.
the plot moved along well versus
And
this.
it made sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where like all of a sudden it
All
would
right.
be in well-lit like cafes and stuff, and then she'd go back to like the dark apartment, which I guess the juxtaposition is there, but it did still feel unnecessary.
I feel like we have done a good solid hour of complaining.
Yeah, let's
So I
rate it.
feel it's time to rate and move on with our lives.
I have a first in my ratings for
boy.
this.
Oh no.
No, that's not. It's not bad.
Okay.
I've been calling this mid-motion, so I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. Because it is not atrocious. It's just like kind of mediocre slop.
There are highs and
with
lows.
very high highs, with some really amazing highs that just get like torn down by the low lows. That's why I'm giving it a 5. And I've been saying we got to watch more 5 out of 10 movies, but
We've done
this
it.
one was unfortunate because it did have such like cool moments that I feel like really bothered.
I think it being overhyped also made it like so disappointing that it was.
I was expecting it to be
Where it
significantly
was.
scarier and more horrifying,
felt
and
like-
yet
It felt run of the mill, other than the stop motion.
Yeah.
So Anna, where do you put it?
I'm trying to think of like rewatchability also, because I think I would rewatch it and just kind of like go on my phone on the real part.
Yeah,
parts.
I wouldn't rewatch it. I wouldn't waste my time.
But like the stop motion part was really good, so I don't know.
I'd watch a compilation of YouTube of just that part.
That we should make our own movie
Yeah.
out of just that part. I would give it like a 5.9.
Oh, all right.
I don't know. Yeah.
I know I used the word poop and I didn't mean it. It's a 5 out of 10 for me.
Oh,
as
wow,
well,
we're
is
right
what
on
I
there.
was thinking because, again, the highs, like the stuff that scared me fucking scared me.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that was gross was fucking gross.
Yes.
The stop motion really disturbed and icked me out. But like, and the things like the directing, the editing, all of that were great. But that doesn't mean that the overall story is doing enough of the lifting that it needs to be doing for me. That's where it's all going downhill.
I agree.
I just wish that the critics said that a little bit because I want this guy to make more. So I almost wish that he was like, you know what? That wasn't like a hit, but there were some good things in here. Let's like regroup. Let's make something else and like kind of take lessons. But I don't know if he's probably riding
And bring in
high.
another screenwriter.
Yeah,
to help.
yeah, maybe.
Well,
Like,
he
that'd
did
be-
have a buddy,
I
and
know,
his
but-
buddy and him,
They need someone else.
they
then.
need someone else.
The
Yeah.
Three Musketeers.
Yeah. Or like just use your style to adapt another story that's already out there.
Also that. Yeah.
But like I'm a little worried because this guy's like, I just made my masterpiece, 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, like, and I'm
Yeah, I
sitting
feel
here
pretty fucking
bitching.
cocky after that.
Yeah.
Especially my first feature film. I'd be such a bitch.
But
Hopefully
after all the
he'll hear
complaining-
this podcast
Yeah.
and be like, well,
We'll
you know what?
tag
These
him.
3 fucking nobodies thought that I needed to do better, so next time I will do better.
But we want to see more. That's what I'm not telling him not to make movies.
totally.
Go make something else. Like
I'm gonna go through and watch all his short films now. When
Yeah.
I have the courage to do so because I'm kind of scared of him.
I do it. Let's do it right now.
You have a flight in an
everyone
hour.
else should do that. Yeah, we got to take you to the airport.
Airport in an hour.
Yeah.
All right.
We can watch it on the way. Cat with hands.
Everyone
all.
go watch The Cat with Hands.
Yes.
That's really the end conclusion here. It will make you afraid of your cat.
No, honestly, I thought it was cute when it had hands.
But then it
Because
wasn't
it could,
cute.
like, pet the other guy.
The end
which was
twist was not cute.
All right. Well, everyone go watch it. I'm done
Watch
talking
Cat
about
with
this
Hands.
movie.
Yeah.
Watch Cat with Hands.
fun. Watch stop motion.
Maybe.
Anna,
But,
thank
like,
you.
Maybe tell us what you thought of it.
Bring
and if
something
we're-
to do in the background.
Yeah. Tell us if we're wrong. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you for joining us, Anna.
It was such a delight.
Do you have anything to say?
No.
Anything to
Excellent.
plug?
Anything to plug, as we always say?
No.
Excellent.
All right. Let's get out of here then.
Of course.
Turn the AC
All right.
back on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
thank
real.
God.
All right, bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Horror Hour with the Hannahs. Make sure to listen to future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or wherever you can find podcasts. You can follow us at Horror Hour with the Hannahs on TikTok and Instagram for more content. If you like the podcast, please follow and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app. Happy hauntings!